Come on in, snoop around. I'm going to give you a flyby tour of what Netbox looks like just by clicking through the various sections. Now, truth be told, I'm actually putting this video in at the very end of the series. I've recorded everything else because I wanted to have some data in there when we started poking around so you could get a perspective of what some of this looks like, right? Come on over, take a look. So this is our Netbox instance. Up at the top, you have the organizational sections. These are the actual locations that you have. So right here, I have my first site, right? If I click on this, I get a perspective of all the different things that are in that site. How many racks of network gear, or I'll just say gear, have been installed? How many devices exist there? How many IP address prefixes and VLANs exist at that site? If I've set up circuits, those are the connections, the internet connections, and all their identifying information. That'll be here. Virtual machines, if I'm hosting servers here as well. Right below that, you can see we have the tenants, which is the people that are at the sites. Now, this is an optional thing because we don't have to have tenants, but it can be super useful for tracking things like you can see right here. I have Keebler Financial, Nabisco Roofing. You get my theme here, right? Nestle Pool Service. So this might be a shared office building where we have multiple tenants literally within them, but I can also use this to track tenants within a rack. So in a data center, it's very common for people to rent out rack space. Like you've got these 3 units or 8 units of space where you can put your equipment, and we can track things appropriately based on that, right? Or people that are using your equipment, we can lease it out to them. So back over here below that, you can see the actual data center infrastructure management sections, right? Now, again, Netbox works for any kind of site. It doesn't have to be a data center, but obviously was grown and lives based on data center needs. You can see racks of information. I can put my racks underneath there. What's actually there, what's installed, and you can see all the rack that I've created and put devices in from the videos that you'll see moving forward, right? What device types do I have? This is the physical hardware. You can see I've got a Cisco SG300, a 2U patch panel. These are the different device types that I've created, essentially templates for creating the actual devices, right? And this is the cable managers. You can see that these are unnamed because they don't have names. I don't want to run into duplicate names when I'm installing cable managers. More on that later. So the actual devices are here, right? Below that, I see the connections. Now, one of the things you'll find with Netbox is that you don't actually go in and configure connections. Like let me show you right here. If I click on cables, it's not like I can add or change anything from here. This is just reflecting what I've already connected. You connect the cables from the device itself. This is more so a report on your cable connections, which I can filter based on these various things on the side. And by the way, this search field over here, huge for everything that you do inside of Netbox. That search field is where it's like that Google fast, like show me this, show me that, show me this. It will behoove you to become good at searching as your Netbox database grows, right? So below that, you see the interfaces, console connections, power connections, if we have that. Down here, the actual power feeds and power panels. I'll leave the explanation of that for the individual video. In short, it essentially represents the power coming into an area and where it branches out to. Up top, you have the IP address management. If you're using VRF, which you can see in this series, I didn't, virtual routing and forwarding tables, you can represent them here. Aggregates being the top level IP addresses that I have, where I can say, here's the actual utilization from that. You can see even with my 5 prefix, I haven't even touched the utilization of a /8, right? A class A group of IP addresses. Below that, the individual prefixes that I have configured, and you can see assigned on a per site or per VLAN basis. Below that is the IP addressing and what they're actually assigned to, if I've assigned it to individual devices, followed by the VLANs and what prefixes are inside of each one of those VLANs. Because you know, a VLAN maps up to a subnet. You could say a VLAN equals a subnet, right? So the database reflects that right here. Below that, you see the providers, as in what providers of circuits do you have and what circuits do you actually have for each one of those providers, right? Below that, virtualization. This is the one thing that I don't touch in this series because I'm a network guy. And I think once you see the structure of Netbox through the various sections, when you get to virtualization, you'll be like, oh, Easy peasy. I essentially add my cluster of servers, the physical servers, and what VMs, that's the second thing underneath here, are actually hosted on those servers, right? Now you can see over on the right-hand side, secrets, if you want to store your passwords here, as well as a changelog of everything that's been added and when it was added to Netbox. That is a flyby overview of essentially what Netbox does. It's not every option. That's just the homepage. If you look through the menus, you'll see more options than what's represented on the homepage. But that gives you the overview tour. The rest of this is going to be unpacking each one of those things. It's that simple.